The first few words in the Torah are so simple, yet so profound. In the beginning, God. We could leave it right there, and that's enough to occupy man's curiosity for the rest of his life. In the beginning, God. I grew up in a religious home, and I've always liked to visit other churches and other synagogues when I was growing up. I still do now to this day. Even though I'm in my 40s, I like to visit other religious institutions because I like to see what God is doing at other places. I can remember growing up listening to rabbis and preachers' sermons using the first 4 words of our parashah for this Shabbat of Bereshit. In the beginning, God. As I said, there's quite a bit to contemplate within that first pasuk, that first verse. And these godly men, they always told me that there's more there than meets the eye. And so that's why I'm fascinated by the first pasuk. In fact, some say that the opening phrase pretty much sums up the foundation and purpose for our existence. In the beginning, God. In these first 2 sections of my own commentary, I want to examine some of the details for the creation perspective, okay? Here we have it. In the beginning, God. Notice that were it not for this foundational starting point, then we humans would be left with very little direction in our lives. You see, unlike that of Hashem, our existence is finite. We're not infinite. We haven't existed from the beginning. Only God has existed from the beginning. We have beginnings, and we need to be able to trace our simple beginnings to something substantial. We need to be anchored in something that is beyond us, that is greater than us. And so we need to find ourselves at the beginning with God by embracing God, by understanding that God was there at the beginning, and God is the one who gives us our beginnings. You see, what I'm talking about is not necessarily confined to Christian circles. Actually, I've found that even the non-believing scientists espouse to this fact by the presence of their various evolutionary models that all do what? They purport a beginning somewhere out there, the Big Bang. They can't simply accept that everything was always here from eternity past. They always seem to purport that, everything started from a simple state and worked its way to where we are now. The amoeba, evolved and crawled out of the primordial soup, and then it grew legs and it grew intelligence, and then I started swinging from trees, and now here I am sitting in front of my MacBook, recording this commentary, using sophisticated technological equipment from Apple, and this microphone that I have in front of my face. Wow, that's what the scientists want me to believe, right? That all of this evolved, but still, they cannot get over the fact that it had to start from somewhere. So there was this mass, and then it grew, and then it exploded, and and blah blah blah, and on they go. Contrary to the scientific dilemma of where everything came from, when we read here in the Torah that in the beginning God, we have an authoritative groundwork laid. By beginning with Hashem, the authoritative groundwork is laid whereby we can honestly and truthfully begin to build solid purpose for our existence, even as meager tenants of the creation that God has placed us in charge of. To be sure, as we're going to soon find out, one of the primary reasons for man's creation was, in fact, to rule over the fish, the birds, the animals, and over all the earth. You can read that in Genesis 1:26. That's not the only thing we were created to do, don't get me wrong, but that is one of our primary functions, why we were created. The earth was created for us. We are to rule over it, to subdue it, and to master it. Not to harm it and to rape it and to pervert it, but God gave the earth to us.